Yep, you're seeing things right. I'm tearing my printer apart again. This time, upgrade! I am upgrading my multi-material unit, or MMU, to MMU2 to an MMU2S, which requires me to upgrade the printer head and or the hot end, which includes the extruder and the nozzle and all that good stuff, as well as some modifications to the MMU itself. But let's start from the beginning. You might be wondering what's behind me. No, not the Star Wars screensaver. This guy. Let's see what it says. Prusa Research Inc. Let's open it. This time on Rotobear. For our first steps, we're going to open the panel to the Ramsey board so we can get in there and then basically unplug everything that comes from the hot end. Now that we've got the door open, we're going to release this cable bundle, which I need some pliers for. Now we just unplug everything from the hot end. All right, all the cables are free. The next step is to remove this filament sensor cable and this back cover. And remove the old sensor wire from the bundle. Now we're going to release the tension on this belt here by loosening these two screws and this guy. Tension released. Next step, take off the fans. Remove the pinda sensor. Now we'll remove the hot end. And the hot end is out. Let's set this aside so the very delicate wires don't get messed up any more than they are right now. Now to remove the PTFE tube, push down on the ring, pull the tube out. So with this ring on the end there, I don't know how I ever would have gotten that out. So the instructions were a little wonky there. Either that or I have a printer that's a little bit different than everybody else's. Fun stuff. It is time for our first new part, new PTFE tube. Two ends to this. One end is beveled and the other end is concave. So we put the beveled end down into the hot end until it stops. Go. Pull up on the black ring. Yeah, there. Doesn't move. I think we're good. Now it's time to remove the Bondtech gear. Slides right off. Push out the idler bar. Bearings, keep those for later. All of those parts we just disassembled, now we're going to reassemble them with new printed parts, hopefully making the whole system better. Let's see. We ran into a slight stumbling block from whatever kind of block this is. So the instructions point out this piece and another piece that's just like it without the hole, which is great, except this is the version that I printed. And now my printer is in pieces. So I reached out to a buddy of mine with a 3D printer who lives here in town, and he has volunteered to reprint what I need to get reprinted for me. So we'll be back in business. I got home from my buddy Andrew's last night and I was a little excited, so I went ahead and started putting things together. These are most of the parts that my buddy Andrew printed for me. Thanks again, Andrew. So appreciative of that. So while I didn't use all of the parts that Andrew printed for me, I used the ones that I didn't have. Remember this little square? That's the key piece that I needed that Andrew reprinted. So as you can see, most of the parts here are orange. Those are the ones that I had originally printed that are the same. So we can keep using those. Now, if you look real close, you can see that we have some separation there in this infrared filament sensor cover. So we're going to need to fix that. And I think what I'm going to do is load up some of the PETG in a 3D pen and kind of glue this back together, if you will. And I think that'll get us going at least enough to where we can print another one to replace this. Hopefully it holds together a little bit better. Here are the parts that I'm going to use to assemble the idler gear as I knock it over, the bearings, and the idler door. Idler gear assembly. So we're going to pop the two bearings in the idler gear. Now we are going to attempt to put this in the middle. Instead of using the idler door here that I had previously printed, I'm going to use the one that Andrew printed because I noticed that it's significantly different. So I'll do a little bit of cleanup on this, get rid of some of those extra strings, you know, same kind of stuff you have to do with pretty much any 3D print. With the cleanup almost done, we are seconds from disaster. And it breaks. Oh. Well, I busted it. Yep, you heard it. I busted the other side. Besides the lever, I wonder how different these really are. The main difference in the parts is that lever that sticks up allows it to rock back and forth and trip the IR sensor. The door is on. I have both printer fans attached. On to the next step. Pin to probe installed. Just going to thread these zip ties through here. That's so cool. Satisfying. Now it's time to install the hot end onto the X carriage. Trying to keep the wires separated as I do this. And just like that, the X carriage is assembled. Well, one more thing to do, of course. Now to do some cable management. It's up through here. Wire, pin to probe, and all of these guys except for the heater cartridge and thermistor come through here. Just press that into place. And we should be good for now. Finally, we're ready to insert the belt. I want to make sure that this is pushed all the way in. That seems pretty good. I'm going to get the belt as tight as I can by hand. I'll rotate the motor back. Tighten up these two screws in the front. Therefore, tensioning the belt. Belt is on and tensioned. Now we're going to insert this piece of 3mm nylon filament into the back of the extruder here. This is going to serve to give rigidity to the bundle of wires that's going to go from the hot end to the control board. Got all my wires through the back plate here, and I'm going to go ahead and slide this forward, making sure that no wires get pinched. Now it's time to connect all of this to this. So I think I'm going to actually take this off to make it easier for me to see what's in there. All the electronics are connected and buttoned up inside the box there. Very nice. So I think we are ready. Here are the fresh printed parts. I was able to get everything back together. And as you can see, I sort of bypassed the MMU for right now. So I'll take that off, reassemble the top of the hot end, and we'll be in business. This is the filament buffer. its purpose is to provide some place for the filament to curl up as it retracts from the printer when it changes filaments. These tubes go on the spool side, and the printer side will hook into the other side. Here we have the fully assembled buffer, and basically, as you can see, it is 5 tubes for 5 filament spools that go into 5 slots, and then that gives the filament a place to spool around as it's being retracted from the printer, which plugs into this end, and you screw in its filament tubes that you see me working with under the table into these right there. So my issue is there's no easy way to load this, because what you're supposed to do is feed the filament in and apparently grab it with your fingers here and then put it into the second tube. Well, that might work if this was just sitting on a table right behind the printer, but I have it, my spools underneath the table, and there's no good spot underneath the table to put this. The tubes coming off the printer are not long enough to reach all the way down if I was just to set this on the ground. Thought about mounting it up on the ceiling like that, which would be kind of cool, except again, you have these little access points that I need to get to easily, and mounting it up on the table, trying to get in there, just would not be good, and I would never be able to get to one side because I've got the desk right next to the printer table. So what am I going to do with this guy? I don't know. I think my setup for right now is pretty decent. Never had a snag or anything, so I'm just going to leave things the way they are. And not try to integrate this into the system right now. It's not a critical component, so we should be good. The printer is sailing away, changing filament in and out, and printing this little test benchy that we got going here. Now, ironically, right before I started filming, the MMU had a problem. What happened is the black filament got stuck trying to pull out. And I noticed on the end that it had a little curl, so maybe it was stuck going in. So that little string that was coming off the tip of the filament got stuck up against it, so it was too fat to fit in the tube. So it's not perfect. Do I think the upgrade's worth it? So far, I've had less problems with everything rebuilt with the new parts than I did before. So that's pretty good. So far, time will tell. Thanks for joining me. This is Daryl, and this has been Rotor Baron.